People in the village still remembered the day Myra began digging into the frozen hillside. They remembered it because they laughed. Myra was a widow. Her husband had passed 3 winters earlier, leaving her a small piece of land at the edge of the valley and a quiet house that leaked cold from every wall. Each winter grew harsher than the last. Wind screamed through the cracks. Snow buried the roof. Firewood burned faster than she could cut it. But what truly made people talk was not her loss. It was her plan. Instead of repairing the old house like everyone expected, Myra walked away from it. She took a shovel, a cart, and bundles of strange supplies. Day after day, she dug into the earth behind her land. She worked alone. Her hands cracked. Her breath smoked in the air. She dug deeper while neighbors stood above her, watching. "She's lost her mind," someone said. "Living underground like an animal," another laughed. "Cold will take her before spring," said a third. Myra did not answer them. She dug because she remembered something her grandmother once told her. The earth remembers warmth. Go deep enough, and cold cannot chase you. Myra believed this with her whole heart. When the pit became a tunnel, people laughed harder. She lined the walls with thick stone. She sealed every gap with clay. Then came the part that made the laughter cruel. Fur. She gathered fur from traders, old coats, damaged rugs, and animal hides treated long ago. She stitched them together herself. Layer by layer, she lined the walls and ceiling. Soft fur faced inward. Rough leather faced stone. Children pointed and giggled. Men shook their heads. Women whispered that grief had broken her. Myra kept working. By late autumn, the underground home was finished. It had one narrow entrance with a wooden door sealed tight. Inside, there was one main room, low and warm, with shelves carved into stone. A small vent led upward for smoke. A stone stove sat in the center, built thick and slow to cool. Myra moved in quietly. The old house stood empty. Winter came early that year. Snow fell before the last leaves dropped. Roads disappeared. Wind tore through the valley like a blade. The village prepared the way it always had, stacking wood, sealing windows, praying roofs would hold. The laughter faded, but doubt remained. "She won't last," they said. "She'll come begging for shelter," they said. Myra said nothing. The first storm arrived at night. Snow fell so heavy it erased sound. In the underground home, Myra sat by her stone stove. The fire burned low but steady. The walls held the heat. The fur trapped it gently, like hands holding a secret. She slept without shivering. Above ground, the village groaned. Roofs cracked under weight. Doors froze shut. Fires burned too fast. The cold found every weakness. By the 3rd week, wood piles shrank dangerously low. People noticed something strange. Smoke rose gently from the hillside behind Myra's land. Thin. Steady. Always there. "She's still alive," someone muttered. Another storm came, worse than the first. Wind howled for 2 days without pause. Snow buried fences. Animals froze in their shelters. The cold bit through walls and into bones. That night, the old widow Rena collapsed in her kitchen. Her fire had died. Her hands would not stop shaking. Her breath came sharp and thin. Her son tried to reach the main road, but snow swallowed the path. There was only one place nearby with smoke still rising. Myra's underground home. They knocked on the wooden door, weak at first, then harder. Myra opened it without surprise. Warm air rushed out. Rena cried from relief before she even stepped inside. Word spread fast. By morning, 2 more families came. Then 3. Myra did not turn them away. She made space. She shared what she had. People sat shoulder to shoulder, stunned by the warmth. "The earth holds it," Myra explained softly. "The fur keeps it from escaping." No one laughed now. Winter tightened its grip. The storms blended into one long white silence. Supplies ran low. The village hall roof collapsed under snow. 2 houses became unsafe to live in. Each night, more people came to the hillside. Myra's underground home became a shelter. She expanded it carefully, opening side chambers she had prepared long ago. She had planned for this, even when she pretended she had not. She believed others would need it one day. Still, whispers followed her. How did she know? Why did she trust this idea? Why didn't we listen? Myra said little. She worked. She tended the fire. She made soup stretch further than it should. She slept less than anyone else. One evening, as wind screamed above, a deep cracking sound echoed through the valley. The river ice broke. Water surged under the snow, unseen and dangerous. By morning, parts of the village flooded beneath ice and slush. Foundations weakened. Walls split. Panic spread. People ran through snow toward the hillside. Myra stood at the door as they came, eyes wide, faces pale. She guided them inside, one by one. Children cried. Elders trembled. The underground home held them all. But Myra knew something they did not. The ground above was shifting. That night, she felt it through the stone floor. A slow tremor. A warning. She checked the walls. Solid. She checked the ceiling. Strong. Then she heard it. A deep groan from the hillside above, like the earth breathing in pain. Myra moved fast. She woke everyone. She guided them to the deepest chamber. She told them to stay quiet. To stay close. Moments later, snow and earth collapsed near the entrance tunnel. The outer door vanished under weight. The underground home shook but held. Dust fell. Children screamed. The fire dimmed but did not die. Silence followed. Hours passed. No one spoke. When morning came, faint light filtered through the smoke vent. Myra climbed carefully. She dug from inside with calm hands. Earth gave way slowly. She emerged to a broken world. Half the hillside had slid. Several homes below were gone. The old house on Myra's land was crushed completely. But the underground home stood. The villagers stared in shock as Myra pulled herself free, covered in dirt but unharmed. For the first time since she began digging, no one laughed. They bowed their heads instead. Winter was not over. The worst was still ahead. And now, everyone knew one truth. Myra's home was not strange. It was survival. After the hillside collapse, nothing in the village felt the same. Snow still covered everything, but silence replaced laughter. People walked carefully now, as if the ground itself might be listening. The underground home became the heart of survival, and Myra became someone the villagers no longer ignored. Yet respect came with pressure. Every morning, people gathered near the hidden entrance, waiting for instructions. They looked to Myra for answers she never claimed to have. She was not a leader by choice. She was a woman who planned, prepared, and trusted the earth more than noise. The cold grew sharper. Winter showed no mercy that year. Storms returned again and again, each one heavier than the last. Wood supplies vanished. Food ran thin. The underground home stayed warm, but space grew tight. Air had to be managed carefully. The fire had to be fed slowly. Myra began setting rules. Only one fire at night. No open flames near fir walls. Vent must stay clear at all times. Some listened. Some did not. One evening, a man named Taro questioned her. "Why should we follow rules in a hole under the ground?" he said, voice loud. "We survived before without this." Myra looked at him calmly. "You survived because winter allowed it," she replied. "This year, it does not." The room fell quiet. Still, tension grew. People whispered that Myra was controlling. Others said she enjoyed being needed. A few even claimed she planned the collapse to prove herself right. Myra heard everything. She did not defend herself. Instead, she worked. She reinforced the vent with stone rings. She lined weak corners with extra fur and clay. She rationed food with painful precision. She taught children how to keep quiet air flowing. She showed elders where warmth stayed longest. One night, a storm unlike any before arrived. The wind did not howl. It screamed. Snow slammed against the hillside with such force that even underground, the walls vibrated. The fire struggled. Smoke thickened in the chamber. Myra felt fear rise for the first time. Not fear of cold. Fear of air. The vent began to clog. Snow packed into the opening above faster than heat could melt it. Smoke crept low. People coughed. Children cried. Panic spread fast. "We are trapped," someone shouted. "We will suffocate," another screamed. Myra pushed through the crowd. She wrapped cloth around her face and grabbed tools. She crawled toward the vent tunnel, where smoke burned her eyes. She worked blindly, clearing ice and packed snow with bare hands. Her fingers went numb. Her lungs burned. She thought of her husband then. How he once said preparation was love that arrived early. She cleared the vent just enough. Fresh air rushed in. People collapsed in relief. Some cried. Others stared at Myra with something new in their eyes. Trust. But winter was not finished testing them. Days later, food nearly ran out. The river remained frozen. Traps failed. Stores from destroyed homes were unreachable under ice and debris. Hunger crept in quietly. Children grew weak. Elders slept too long. Arguments sparked over portions. Taro accused Myra again, this time openly. "You planned for warmth," he said, "but not for feeding everyone." Myra stood still. "You are right," she said. The room froze. She continued, "I planned for survival, not comfort. Hunger is part of that." Her honesty shocked them. That night, Myra made a decision that terrified her. She would leave the underground home. At dawn, she wrapped herself in fur and tied rope around her waist. 2 villagers protested. One cried. Myra ignored them. "I know the river path," she said. "Under the ice, there are pockets." She crawled out into the storm. The cold hit her like a wall. Wind knocked breath from her chest. Snow erased all direction. She moved by memory alone, counting steps, feeling slopes under her boots. At the river bend, she broke ice carefully. Water surged black and angry beneath. She lowered traps with shaking hands. Hours passed. When she returned, she carried fish. Not many, but enough. People cheered quietly, afraid sound itself might steal the moment. Myra collapsed inside the warmth she had built. From that day, no one questioned her again. But winter still had one final trial. The ground began to shift deeper in the hillside. Not a collapse this time, but pressure. Slow. Relentless. Stone cracked softly in the night. Myra felt it through the floor again. She inspected the deepest wall and saw a thin line forming. A fracture. If it widened, the chamber would fail. She gathered the villagers. "We must reinforce tonight," she said. They worked together, men and women, young and old. They carried stone. They packed clay. They layered fur. Hands bled. Muscles failed. But no one stopped. The crack held. Barely. Exhausted, they sat in silence. Outside, the storm eased. For the first time in months, the wind softened. Morning came with strange light. The harshest part of winter had passed. When snow finally melted weeks later, the village emerged changed. Homes were gone. Fields were damaged. Lives were lost. But many lived. Because one widow dug into the earth while others laughed. Myra stood outside her underground home as sunlight touched the hillside. People gathered around her, unsure how to speak to someone they once mocked. She did not smile. She looked at the land and thought of the future. Because survival was only the beginning. Spring arrived quietly, like a guest unsure of welcome. Snow did not vanish in one day. It softened. Ice cracked gently. Water found paths it had forgotten. The valley breathed again, slow and careful. People stepped out of the underground home as if waking from a long dream. Sunlight felt strange on their faces. Some cried without knowing why. Others stood still, afraid that warmth might disappear if they moved too fast. Myra watched them from the hillside. Her underground home stood scarred but strong. The entrance tunnel was bent. Stones were chipped. Fur lining showed signs of smoke and strain. Yet it had held when nothing else did. The village below looked broken. Several homes were gone. Others leaned at unsafe angles. Fields were flooded. Fences lay buried. The river had changed its course, carving new lines through the land. People gathered near Myra, unsure of what came next. For the first time, someone asked her a question without doubt in their voice. What do we do now? Myra took a long breath. Now, she said, we rebuild smarter. Some nodded at once. Others hesitated. Change scared them more than cold ever had. A few days later, the village council met in the open air. Chairs were placed in a rough circle. The ground was muddy. Boots sank. Still, everyone came. The elder Nilo cleared his throat. We owe our lives to Myra, he said. That cannot be denied. Murmurs of agreement moved through the crowd. But, Nilo continued, living underground forever is not our way. Myra stood. I did not build it as a way, she said calmly. I built it as an answer. Silence followed. She walked to the center and placed her hand on the earth. This ground protected us, she said. It will again if we let it. Not by hiding, but by learning. She explained her vision. Homes built lower into the land. Walls thicker. Fur and insulation used wisely. Stone stoves shared between families. Emergency shelters prepared before need arrived. Some listened with interest. Others crossed their arms. Taro stood up. You want to change everything, he said. Yes, Myra replied. Because everything already changed. The truth hit hard. The council agreed to try one home first. A shared shelter, half above ground, half below, built near the hillside where the earth had proven strong. Myra did not lead the build. She guided. She taught where warmth stayed longest, how wind moved, where water collected, how to seal without trapping air. People worked with new care, not speed. Children watched and learned. By late summer, the shelter stood complete. Then something unexpected happened. Travelers arrived. Word had spread beyond the valley. Stories of a village that survived the harshest winter through an underground home lined with fur and stone. Some came curious. Some came desperate. Families from colder regions asked questions. Builders took notes. Elders listened. Myra spoke to all of them. She did not claim wisdom. She shared experience. One afternoon, a trader approached her quietly. You could sell this knowledge, he said. Make more than you ever dreamed. Myra looked at the valley. My husband dreamed of safety, she said. Not wealth. That night, Myra returned alone to the underground home. She sat by the stone stove, now cold and quiet. She ran her hand over the fur walls, worn but familiar. Memories filled the space. Fear. Hope. Strength she never knew she had. She realized something then. The underground home was no longer a shelter. It was a reminder. Before she left, she placed a wooden marker near the entrance. It read simply, The earth remembers warmth, so should we. Autumn came again. People prepared differently this time. Homes were reinforced. Wood was stored properly. Emergency plans were clear. The underground shelter remained ready but empty. When the first snow fell, there was no laughter. Only respect. Winter returned, cold and heavy, but not cruel like before. Storms came. Wind tested walls. Yet the village stood. No one froze. No one panicked. No one begged for shelter at the last moment. One evening, as snow fell softly, Taro approached Myra. I was wrong, he said quietly. Myra nodded. I know. He hesitated. Why did you never leave? After they laughed. Myra looked toward the hillside. Because the ground never did. Years passed. The village became known for survival building. Others came to learn. Children grew up knowing warmth was not luck, but planning. Myra aged gently. One winter morning, she did not come outside. They found her in the underground home, resting peacefully near the stone stove. She had lived. She had taught. She had proven winter wrong. The village gathered that evening, lighting one shared fire. Snow fell softly above. Beneath the ground, warmth remained. No one laughed anymore. Because winter had proven her right.